Dreaming is a magical phenomenon with Chinese characteristics. He cannot be explained by the available science. But it's real. And in 2014 CCTV's Today's Statement column, there is a special show been in time. In here, there was one that couldn't be more bizarre. Dream event. June 11, 2008. A small village in Chanbai Mountain, Jilin Province. A man named Chang Yongchen is missing. He is an honest man. Usually rely on the mountain to collect mountain goods. But that day he went up the mountain and never came back. Worried family members called the police. The police at first thought it was lost on a mountain. It's not a big deal. How many a year? But after searching for a while, he got nothing. Until a week later, another woman named Liu Xiaoling called the police. She's under her own firewood pile. Found a bloody camouflage suit. After comparison, this is the same dress Chan was wearing the day he disappeared. Based on the blood on the clothes, he must have been attacked. But we don't know for sure. So the police went to Zhong Yongqing's home again. Found that the doors and windows were intact and the items in the house were neatly placed. No sign of a struggle. There's a couple $100 in cash in the locker. Even the quilt is neatly folded. The most important thing is Liu Xiaoling and Zhong Yongchen, who found the snowsuit, are neighbors. The two houses are less than 20 meters apart. What the hell happens to a grown man? I don't even have time to say hello. There's only one piece of clothing left. Later, when the police searched the neighborhood of Chang Yongqing's home, found a very strange place. There is a pile of sand not far from his house. There were a lot of flies hovering above. There's no garbage. What does the fly revolve around? A policeman picked up a wooden sticker. A few pulls against the sand pile. It turns out that the sand in this layer is darker. The red looks like blood. The sand tested positive for cold blood. And it belongs to Zhang Yongsang. Judging by the volume of blood drawn, Chang Yongchen is probably dead. But there's no surveillance around here. No one in the neighborhood has seen anything suspicious. Based only on the information currently available. Not enough to find Yongsan Chang. The police investigation has reached an impasse. And at this very moment, Zhong Yongqing's sister, Zhong Yang, suddenly came back from Liaoning. And he also brought the whereabouts of Zhang Yongsang. It's just his clue. All from a terrible dream. The evening of the 20th, Zhong Yang dreamed of her brother while she was asleep. But Zhang was covered in blood. He kept saying that someone had killed him. Said also took up Zhong Yang's hand. Walked him along the railroad tracks for more than 10 minutes. When he reached a clearing, he suddenly stopped. He didn't say anything and kept pointing his hand at a piece of dirt. And for the next few days, Zhong Yang has been having this dream. He said the real thing doesn't seem like a dream anymore. This must be the little brother to give himself a hint. So Zhong rushed over to tell the police about it. The police are totally unconvinced. Because handling a case requires facts, objectivity and correctness. If you use the dream as a clue, isn't that a nice smile? But what about the families of the victims? Must be unwilling to give up on any possibility. So to appease Zhong Yang, just a couple of officers go with him to the railroad. And I didn't think I'd find it. They walked for more than 10 minutes. In the middle of nowhere, in a pile of weeds. There's a piece of land that's clearly been turned. Dig down about 2 meters. Actually dug up the missing days of Zhong Yongchen. Everyone present was shocked. Even Sai Love has. The breakthrough is surprised that the dream is really discriminatory. After Zhong Yang found her brother, crying is a snot a tear. But several police officers accompanying him looked at each other. My heart is full of doubts. That's when they think Zhong Yang is most likely the murderer. After all, there's such a thing as a dream. It's so beyond their understanding. It's unheard of across the country. This place is very secluded. They also found it under the leadership of Zhong Yang. There's no telling how long it would take to find out. It could have been developed at some point 10 or 8 years later. If Zhong Yang wasn't the killer, then he probably saw the killer bury the body. The process of an investigation later found that Zhong Yang had been living in Liaoning. He has a good relationship with his brother. He hasn't left Liaoning in years. No motive and no time. So the police really can't imagine. How did Zhong Yang know her brother was buried here? The victim's remains were found. A lot of trouble followed. There was no blood where the remains were found. No signs of dragging or fighting. Not even a footprint. This is certainly not the first crime scene. The killer was probably local and familiar with the area. Knowing that few people go here, he cleaned up his own footprints after he was buried. And Zhang is 1.83 meters taller. He weighs 200 pounds and is huge. He was buried in a hole 2 meters deep. The killer must have been powerless, too. A big man. The main thing is that Chang Yongchen was stabbed 13 times. And a stab to the heart. Like the killer had some kind of grudge against him. But Zhong Yongcheng is kind. I don't know of any trouble with anyone. He has a good reputation in the village. No enemies. When I was looking into Zhang Yongcheng's network, several villagers secretly told the police between Zhong Yongcheng and Liu Xiaoling have an affair. Liu Xiaoling has a husband. They used to work together collecting mountain goods. This goes back and forth. The relationship between the two gradually heated up. And Liu Xiaoling's husband Jiyu Dahai, because of work problems, often be away from home. Married for 10 years. Liu Xiaoling and Zhong Yongcheng together. More than him. Moreover, Zhong Yongcheng, this person, is steadfast and steady. Liu Xiaoling also likes Zhong Yongcheng very much. So will not be GUC found two people affair. So he killed Zhang Yongcheng. That would explain it. Spot the snowfields and snow trails on the beach. Why so close to their house? Moreover, Jiyu Dahai is a railway maintenance worker. He is absolutely familiar with the surroundings of the railway. To a zombie hideaway like this. No wonder. Police immediately investigated Jiyu. Turns out he's a poor guy, too. He had no idea his wife was having an affair. And according to him, he's on good terms with China. Drink a lot together. He was working the night shift the day of the murder and didn't go anywhere. When the police are ready to rule out the suspicion of Jiyu Dahai, villagers have reported it. Jiyu Dahai had gone home with 2 knives before. Liu Xiaoling also said it. True. Saw her husband hide 2 knives in the closet at home. In the sudden upheaval let Jiyu Dahai sweating. But he adamantly denied it. That he doesn't know anything about swords or knives. And yet at this very moment, his own brother stepped forward. You have a knife, I have it right here. It turned out that when Zhang Yongcheng's body was found, GUC took 2 knives to find his brother. Let him keep it. And told him not to tell anyone. What a surprise. Yeah, but that makes sense. After all, how can a cop be anyone else? His brother is still a good man. The police did an examination after they got the knife. The knife is new and clean. Not even a fingerprint. And it doesn't match the wounds on Chang's body. Therefore, Jiyu Dahai should maybe really innocent. He came here and everything seemed to go back to square one. The police could only question Liu Xiaoling again. Are there any other suspects? Hesitantly, Liu Xiaoling said the other man's name. Han Jigang is a local villager. He was Liu Xiaoling's former partner. And his former lover. Ah, the sea is really sad. According to Liu Xiaoling, Han Jigang is narrow-minded and possessive. He gets very angry at the slightest provocation. Liu Xiaoling looked disgusted when she mentioned this man. Because this guy's been bothering him. He even looked for him when he was at home. For fear that no one would know about their relationship. When I learned about Liu Xiaoling and Zhong Yongcheng. When we're together. And he came knocking. And threatened Liu Xiaoling early and Zhong Yongcheng breaker. In addition, the police have learned. The day after Zhang's body was found. This Han Jigang is gone. His family said he was visiting his daughter in the provinces. But when I called his cell phone again, it turned off. During the police investigation of Han Jigang. And a warm-hearted villager. Provided a very important clue. Han Jigang once asked him to borrow a wheelbarrow. Said he was hauling some sand. When I returned the next day, Han Jigang washed the car inside and out. This is most likely what he used to transport the body. Unfortunately, more than a dozen days had passed. But there has been no news of Han Jigang. We can't just wait for him. The police thought a lot. Decided to blow him up. We solved the case in the open. The murderer is dissatisfied with his wife derailed GUC. Of course, this is an GUC discussed in advance. Because the market is regulated and the knives are still needed. 5 days detention. So this is a good opportunity to lure the snake out. Wait until the truth comes out and then give Jiyu Dahai clarification. It wasn't long before the news broke. Han Jigang returned as expected. The police arrested him immediately. But he denied it all. But the police are waiting for an investigation warrant. A full inventory of Han Jigang's home was immediately carried out. 2 sharp knives were eventually found under a slab of stone. There was a modeling of blood on it. This is the same weapon used to kill Zhang Yongsan. So evidence steel chisel Han Jigang also had to admit. Since Zhang Yongcheng showed up, his relationship with Liu Xiaoling became increasingly distant. He repeatedly retained Wu Guo heart very jealous. Then he began to kill. The day of the murder. He looked ahead and dug the hole. Stay close to Zhang Yongcheng's house. When he shows up, go for him with a knife. Stab him in the stomach and chest. But Zhang Yongcheng is fit and healthy. Stabbed enough to fight him. There was a scuffle between 2 men. The clothes should have been around then, too. Fell into a pile of firewood. In the end, Zhang lost a lot of blood. Down on the sand and powerless to fight. Han Jigang loaded him onto a wheelbarrow. And then to the pit the site dug. He handled himself well. But I didn't expect the body to be found so soon. And at the trial, Han Jigang also stressed. You don't know what Zhongyang. He doesn't know. Why would Zhongyang know where the body is? At last the case was resolved. Guc is clean. But also left this sad heart forever. He and Liu Shaoling are gone. No one knows where they went. But there's one detail here that really matters to me. Does Jiu Dahai really know nothing? Come to think of it, why would he hide two knives? Finally, it is about Zhongyang's dream. There is still no rational explanation. So the police have a theory. Maybe it was the night that Han Jigang buried his body. Someone saw it. He's afraid to talk to the police for fear of retribution. So he informed Zhongyang. And to protect him, Zhongyang borrowed the idea of a dream.